Hey everyone, welcome back to AniMonolith's light novel recap series for Tensei Slime. Picking up right where we left off, after Rimuru revealed that the real enemy was none other than the ultimate skill, Michael, whose true goal was to revive Veldanava. The discussion shifted to rebuilding the Empire. The group agreed that the best solution was to appoint a new emperor, and once that was decided, the tense atmosphere of the meeting finally began to relax. But of course, saying it was one thing, actually making Masayuki emperor was a whole different challenge. The first problem? Recognition. Would the people and the imperial nobles even accept Masayuki as emperor? After all, even though he's technically the reincarnation of Rudra, he doesn't have Rudra's memories or bloodline. And let's be honest, proving something like a soul fragment exists is basically impossible. So, in short, there was no solid proof that Masayuki was Rudra. Rimuru pointed out that things could get really messy if the citizens refused to accept him. Masayuki, ever the honest guy, nodded eagerly, saying, "Exactly! It sounds completely ridiculous, doesn't it?" "Don't worry, Masayuki. If Velgrind and the author say it's fine, then it's fine." At that moment, Velgrind spoke up. "It won't be a problem," she said confidently. "According to the Imperial Code, the person recognized by the Guardian Dragon of the Empire, meaning me, is both Rudra and the Emperor." Apparently, this law used to be more of a symbolic tradition, but right now, it turned out to be the key point of the entire plan. Through minutes, we also learned something new. Rudra had always reincarnated as the first son of the royal family. Once he inherited his previous self's ego, his identity would eventually reveal itself as he grew up. So in every era, people could easily tell who Rudra's reincarnation was. Of course, not everyone accepted that quietly. There were times in history when traitors tried to replace the true emperor, but those fools were quickly exposed and punished by Velgrind herself. Rimuru didn't even want to imagine what kind of punishment that meant. Knowing Velgrind, it probably wasn't pleasant. Then Rimuru suggested half-jokingly, "Well, what if we just say Masayuki is Rudra's illegitimate son?" A bold idea, but Minutes immediately rejected it. "The Senate keeps complete biological records of His Majesty Rudra, including his blood type and DNA," he explained. Rimuru was shocked. "Wait, they have DNA tests in this fantasy world? What's next? Tanks and satellites?" Yep, the Empire's science had gone way beyond what Rimuru ever expected. Still not giving up, Rimuru proposed another idea. Since Masayuki had a face similar to Rudra's, maybe he could imitate Rudra and pass as him. That way, Rimuru could use the Emperor's authority to skip the verification process, then secretly replace Rudra's records later. A clever move, straight out of a drama series. But Velgrind instantly shot it down. "Rejected!" Rimuru frowned. "Why's that?" Velgrind explained, "You haven't forgotten Michael's power, have you? His strength comes from the loyalty of Rudra's followers. If we declare that Rudra is dead, and shift that loyalty to someone else, we can cut off Michael's power supply. That's the best course." That made Rimuru pause for a moment. True. But what if Michael had already accounted for that? Rimuru thought, "If I were Michael, I'd just pick another target for my power. Someone outside my reach. Or someone unbelievably strong." And that's exactly what Michael did. Before revealing himself to the world, he had possessed Feldway, merging him with one of Rudra's parallel existences. That way, both he and Feldway could access the King of Justice's power. The loyalty of the Phantom race toward Feldway would now also fuel Michael. Simply put, the guy was already one step ahead. Velgrind acknowledged that Michael likely had countermeasures in place, but she still insisted that transferring the people's loyalty to Masayuki was the safest plan. "As long as I publicly recognize Masayuki as Rudra's reincarnation," she said confidently, "no one will be able to oppose it." Rimuru agreed. "All right, if the Imperial Code supports it and you're that confident, then let's go for it. The only thing left now is Masayuki's mindset." Turning to him, Rimuru asked, "So, Masayuki-kun, you okay with all this? If you don't like it, Masayuki, then there's no need to push yourself, okay?" Wow, Velgrind's smile was so gentle. Gentle to the point of being scary. Masayuki fell silent for a moment, then sighed as if accepting his fate. "I'll do it. I'm already being called a hero anyway, so one more title won't make a difference." His eyes were blank, serene, the expression of a man who had reached enlightenment. Koguryo, Minutes, and the other Imperial officers looked visibly relieved. To them, having a new emperor meant hope, a symbol of stability for the Empire's future. Rimuru agreed. Despite Masayuki's reluctance, his charisma and skill would easily win the people's hearts. "All right then," Rimuru declared. "Tempest will officially recognize Masayuki as the new emperor. I'll also release all the captured Imperial officers immediately. They won't be held accountable, but will postpone compensation negotiations until after his coronation. Everyone thanked Rimuru sincerely. It seemed the meeting would wrap up smoothly, until Gazelle Dwargo raised his voice. "I have no objection, but one question remains," he said, his sharp gaze turning to Masayuki. "You may be a hero, but as an emperor, what principles will you follow to unite your people?" Masayuki froze under Gazelle's piercing look. After glancing nervously at Rimuru, he finally replied, I guess I want to create a world where everyone can live with laughter." Rimuru couldn't help but laugh. Not mockingly, but out of pure joy. "That's the most important thing, Masayuki. I couldn't agree more." Masayuki brightened up. "I knew you'd say that, Rimuru-san." Rimuru nodded thoughtfully. "When I told Rudra the same thing, he mocked me for being naive. But hearing it from you now, I know I wasn't wrong. It looks like I chose the right person." Masayuki smiled with newfound confidence. "I've never been good with politics, but now I feel like I can be proud of it." "Then let's do our best together," Rimuru said, extending his hand. "Yes, let's make it happen." The two laughed heartily together, their energy infectious. Velgrind smiled softly. Diablo and Shion looked at Rimuru with eyes full of admiration. Calgurio and Minitz exchanged faint, uneasy smiles, while Gazelle simply sighed and looked toward the ceiling. "That's enough of that," he muttered under his breath. Velgrind chuckled. "I understand your concern, Gazelle, but they mean no harm. They just need guidance, and perhaps someone to keep them from straying off the path." "I know," Gazelle admitted, massaging his temples. "Still, it's exhausting to deal with people who talk about politics with such childish idealism." Everyone laughed. "Do whatever you want. Just remember, you're not alone. Take responsibility, grow with your comrades, and if you need it, I'll lend my help." With that, the tension in the room finally melted away. "If the eastern lands stabilize, our country will find peace as well," Gazelle added. "I'll assist with the reconstruction along the border." "Thank you," Rimuru and Masayuki replied in unison. And so the meeting ended with laughter, unity, and renewed determination. From that day forward, history would remember this moment, the birth of the savior Emperor Masayuki Rudra Nam ul Nasca. After setting the next phase of the plan, it was time for lunch. The atmosphere had relaxed, and everyone enjoyed a kaiseki-style meal prepared with great care by Shuna. Though it was an official break, the setting still carried a sense of dignity, as the menu had been designed to properly entertain distinguished guests. Everyone used chopsticks, something even King Gazelle had long since mastered. The Empire had adopted many of Tempest's customs, so the Japanese-style cuisine felt natural to everyone. "The food here is as delicious as ever," someone remarked. "It makes me want to drink," Vaughn joked. Dolph quickly scolded him, reminding him this was still a formal meeting. Rimuru chuckled. "I'd like some sake too, but..." He glanced at Shuna, who smiled gently, a silent but firm no. Benimaru laughed, suggesting they could drink later. He even revealed that since marrying Alvis, he'd started drinking more often, sharing quiet nights over sake with his wife. Shuna admitted that she sometimes tried alcohol too, though she was quick to deny being like Shion, the heavy drinker. The teasing continued, light and cheerful, filling the room with warmth. But then a sudden sound broke the laughter. Someone was crying. Everyone turned. Calgurio was weeping silently. Shuna rushed to his side. "What's wrong? Is the food not to your liking?" Calgurio shook his head. "No, it's not that. I just remembered my men. So many of them died because of my orders. Faraj, Gaster, Zamud. They'll never come back. It was my fault." Rimuru sighed softly, but before he could speak, Testarossa had already acted. "I've summoned them," she said. Within minutes, several soldiers entered the room, Calgurio's subordinates, including Major General Zamud himself. They had once perished aboard the Emperor's airship when Testarossa unleashed her ultimate spell, Death Streak. But at Calgurio's desperate plea, she had saved their souls. With Rimuru's help, their spirits were placed into new homunculus bodies. When Calgurio saw them, his tears flowed freely again, this time from joy. The hall erupted into shouts of relief and reunion, laughter and crying overlapping as comrades embraced one another. Even Velgrin and Testarossa exchanged knowing smiles. Rimuru looked on quietly, thankful that some wounds could still be healed. Watching this scene, he silently hoped that the Empire would truly understand the folly of war, that they would choose diplomacy and dialogue over meaningless destruction. And with that peaceful wish in his heart, the luncheon continued, filled with smiles, tears, and the faint scent of sake that marked the warmth of life returning to once broken bonds. Anyway, that's all for today's recap. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.